Okay.
Okay. Do you have any questions to start with?
No.
Okay. All right. So this is our suicide risk assessment form. You'll see it's very nice and guided.
Okay.
And so what I'm going to do is follow this form to make sure that I'm asking the most important questions.
Okay.
So we'll start with some yes or no questions.
Okay.
And I'm going to ask you about the past month because this is the first time I've ever used this scale with you.
Okay.
Okay. So in the past month, how often have you wished that you were dead, or that you could go to sleep and not wake up?
Yes.
Okay. Have you actually had thoughts of killing yourself?
Yes.
Okay, great. You're doing a good job. Thank you. And then, have you been thinking about how you might kill yourself?
Yeah.
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 Okay. Do you have some intention of acting on those thoughts and plans?
No, not really.
Okay. When you say not really, what do you mean by that?
Well, I don't think I would ever do it.
Okay. Okay.
Mm.
And then, have you worked out any of the details about how you might kill yourself?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. And what I'm going to do now is follow up on those questions with a little bit more detail.
Okay.
Okay? So going again back to the past month, I'm wondering for you, when you've been thinking about suicide, how frequently have you been thinking about suicide? And you could say anywhere from once a week or less to multiple times a day.
Yeah, like a couple of times a day.
A couple times a day?
Yeah.
Okay, great. And then you're doing a good job so far.
Okay.
Fabulous. You're doing exactly what I need you to do. And then when you've had them, how long do they last?
Like a few minutes, not really long.
Okay. 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 And are there times when they last longer?
Like in the evening.
Okay.
A little bit, yeah.
Okay. If you had to say on average when you're thinking about suicide, how long it lasts in the last month, you could say anywhere from, fleeting to less than an hour, more than an hour.
Probably less
Probably
than an hour.
Less than an hour? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And not on average.
Yeah.
Okay. And then when you've been thinking about it, how hard has it been to control thinking about it? You can say not at all to very hard to I haven't tried to control it.
I haven't really tried to control it. It's just there.
Okay, great. So that, when I say great, what I mean is that's an excellent place for us to talk about later.
Okay.
Because I think we kind of assume suicidal thoughts, we have no control over them and that we're kind of run by them. But I think what we want to shift some of the focus of our sessions to is really figuring out when they come up, what do we do with them? You and I talked earlier about how for you, and I'm going to ask more about this in a second, but that it really is, the intensity of your suicidal thoughts has to do with how much you're suffering right now and how frustrated you are with things. Okay.
Yeah, that's true.
So sometimes it's not so much that you want to die, as much as you don't want to feel the way that you're feeling.
Well, yeah.
That would maybe be a more accurate thing to say. It's not I want to be dead, but I don't want to feel this way.
Yeah.
Okay, okay. So I'll ask another question about that.
Okay.
Okay. And then what about things that have kept you from harming yourself? This could be family, religion, fear of dying, for example, pets. What kind of things for you have kept you from taking those pills like we've talked about in the past?
Well, my family and my cat.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So, and then any other things?
I don't know. That's pretty much the big ones, I think.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
That might mean that we need to make some more reasons for you to stick around.
Okay.
Family's great, so are cats. And maybe there's some other things that might be, make life more interesting and worthwhile.
Okay.
I'd like to start thinking about it that. Let's build your reasons for living, and that's what we're going to focus on in some of our later sessions and today.
Okay.
You look confused. Does that
Yeah.
make sense?
I think so.
Okay, that's okay. We'll talk more about it.
Okay.
Okay. And overall, would you say that those things were not at all important, somewhat important, or very important for preventing you from acting on thoughts of harming yourself and
Pretty
suicide.
important.
Pretty important.
Yeah.
So not just somewhat or moderately, but
No.
very important.
Yeah.
Okay. And then what about reasons for wanting to die or for killing yourself? Some people say, well, it would really screw the people who had not been helpful to me in my life.
Mm-hmm.
Some people say, well, that's part of it, but it's also that it would end the way that I'm feeling, and I don't want to feel this way.
I think I just don't want to feel this way anymore.
Okay, so you're more on this end of things that
Yeah.
you'd rather not feel this way.
Yeah.
Can we make an agreement maybe that that's what we start thinking about rather than I want to die, but and replacing that with I don't want to feel this way?
I guess so.
I'll explain more,
Okay.
but it seems like maybe that's more accurate.
Okay.
Okay, all right,
Yeah.
and we can focus on not feeling this way. We can
Okay.
figure it out. Okay, and then great. That's really helpful. Now I'm going to kind of go back again to talking about suicide, and what I want to know is, in the past month, have you actually made a suicide attempt? And that could be where you weren't really sure you wanted to die, but somewhat intending to die, all the way to I absolutely wanted to die. Has that happened in the last month?
No.
Okay. I've asked you about this before, though, but I want to make sure I ask you again. Has that happened ever in your life?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. When you pause, what does that mean?
I was trying to think through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does that mean there's been a time in your life where you prepared for suicide or did something that was harmful to yourself?
No.
Okay. Okay. What were you thinking about?
Well, I was just trying to think if there were times when I really did feel that bad.
Mm-hmm.
But then it always kind of just feels like this, so.
Then that's awful.
Yeah.
Yeah, I shouldn't feel like this all the time. Okay. I know you've kind of accepted it,
Yeah.
but it's not okay.
Okay.
Okay. And then I also wanted to ask, in the past month, have you done anything to prepare for suicide, such as collecting pills, collecting your pills,
Mm-hmm.
buying a gun, or getting access to a gun? Do you have access to a gun? Okay. Fabulous. What about giving valuables away
No.
or writing a suicide note?
No, I haven't.
Okay. Any steps that you've taken towards preparing for suicide?
No.
Okay. All right. And then the last question I want to ask you is, if there has been a time in the last month when you injured yourself intentionally.
No.
Okay, and that would be without intent to die.
No.
Okay, so never cut or burned yourself
No.
in the past month. What about in your lifetime? Okay, all right. Thanks for answering these questions. I want to just check in with you and see how are you feeling right now.
Okay.
Okay. Oh, it's Sarah. She should probably wait, because I told her I would go. She's probably right here.
No, she's probably next door.
Okay. That's okay, we can cut that part out.
Okay.
Let me just take this opportunity to make sure it's still recording now that... Oh, good.
Okay.
Good.
Crap.
Okay. So you did a really good job with this interview. And I don't know what it was like for you, but I know that it can be hard to answer these questions directly.
Yeah.
Okay. I want to ask you, from like on a 1 to 10 scale, how truthful would you say that you've been in answering these questions?
I've been really truthful.
Okay. So would you say a 10? Would you say a 9?
Like a 10.
Okay. To the best of your knowledge.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So the other thing I want to ask you about is if there's anything that I haven't asked that's kind of sticking in the back of your mind that you think it would be important for me to know.
No, I don't think so.
Nothing's kind of hanging out there.
No.
Okay. All right. So what we're going to do next is move on to making a plan. We call them a crisis response plan. A plan for how to manage suicidal thoughts when they come up, and also how to reduce your vulnerability to the thoughts in the first place.
Okay.
Okay. Before we do that, though, I don't want to jump too quickly to that.
Okay.
Part of what we're doing today is suicide risk assessment and then making a crisis plan. And what I want to know is, for you, how willing are you to try something different? How willing are you to engage in this idea of maybe life would be worth living and to take steps to do something differently?
Yeah, I think anything's worth trying.
Okay. You don't sound too gung-ho.
Well, I don't know if it'll work.
Yeah. Well, it's a risk, right?
Yeah.
And
So.
I guess I want to tell you I have a lot of hope for you.
Okay.
And I'd like you to hold on to that idea. And ideally for you to start to have some hope for yourself. I know it's a scary thing when, when you've been feeling bad so long.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm also going to tell you about some resources such as an online website called dbtselfhelp.com.
Okay.
And that is a website that, between our sessions, since we don't get to meet as often as we'd like, that's a place where you can go to learn more about how do I not feel this way.
Okay.
How I asked you before about would you consider, instead of saying I want to die to myself, to yourself, saying I don't want to feel this way anymore.
Yeah.
So that website has all sorts of strategies for how to not feel the way that you're feeling, how to change the way that you feel, and how to build a life that's worth living.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
Great. So you've done a fabulous job, and like I said, we know the degree to which people are suicidal is an indication of how much they're suffering. I'd like to get a sense of, can I get you to commit to not harming yourself between now and the next time that we meet? And that is, we don't know yet what time we're going to meet, but I need to get a commitment from you that you'd be willing to do that.
Yeah.
Really?
I could do that.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. I appreciate that, because that's pretty important to me. And we're going to put that in the crisis response plan. If for some reason you feel like, okay, maybe I can't follow through on my commitment, we'll have a list of steps of what to do in that scenario.
Okay.
Okay. Because I want to keep you around, and I want your life to be better so that this is not really so much of an option.
Okay.
The thing about suicidal thoughts is sort of like, it's like if you train a dog to do a trick, it's really hard for that dog to unlearn that trick.
Okay.
And the brain is the same way. Once it starts thinking of suicide as an out, as a way of relief, it's really hard to untrain it.
Okay.
So that means that it's probably still going to keep popping up for you, even as your life gets better.
Okay.
And that I want you to be mindful of, that doesn't have to mean anything at all.
Okay.
That can be like a dog having a hard time learning a new trick because they know the old trick.
Yeah.
Our brains are just like that.
Okay.
Okay? All right. So I'm going to end this interview now, and then we're going to move to crisis response plan training as well.
Okay.
Okay. So, so Katie did a fabulous job. I wanted to ask Katie what your experience was like being the patient. Are there things that were hard, or that I could have done differently, or that you liked?
I liked the flow of it, and I liked the way that you went from question to question. I think the only thing is that...
Let's answer it. Tell her to come in.
Hello? Uh-huh. Okay.
Tell her I'm in your office, because she's been trying to find me too.
Oh, there's an actual cleaner for it that's back in the other storeroom under miscellaneous pens. But over by Pearl's old office. Yeah. Goodbye.
That wasn't her.
No, it was Cheryl.
So going back to asking you.
Oh yeah, okay. So the things that I liked is the way that the flow went, and that you were, helping try to, explain some things or give some definitions to it. Maybe next time wait a little bit in between
The questions.
Yeah, so let the person think about it, and then if they're not coming up with anything, then give them more of the guidelines.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So ask the question, have them wait, and try to think it through. And then if they're having a hard time coming with the answer, then offer some of the response
That's
options.
some more guidelines to,
I like that.
think about it.
Any other things that you noticed?